This story is based on documented events as of early 2026. All names are real. Sid Sijbrandij's treatment is ongoing. He felt a sharp pain during a bench press. He had felt it before. It always went away. This time it lingered for 2 weeks. Unable to sleep at 4 a.m, he drove himself to the emergency room. An x-ray showed nothing concerning. They sent him home. Hours later, his doctor called back. Do you know how to meditate? You might have an aneurysm. The pain you're feeling might be your aorta starting to burst. So relax and get to the emergency room now. It was not an aneurysm. It was a 6-centimeter tumor growing from his spine. He was 45 years old, a billionaire, the co-founder of one of the largest software companies on Earth, and the cancer growing inside him was one that medicine had not figured out how to cure since the 1980s. This is Diagnosis Glitch. Sid Sijbrandij, known as Sid, was born in the Netherlands in 1979. He studied engineering physics. Before he ever touched a line of code, he spent 4 years building recreational submarines at a small Dutch firm. Then he taught himself Ruby programming after seeing code on Hacker News. In 2012, he discovered an open source project created by a Ukrainian programmer named Dmitry Zaporozhets, working from a house with no running water. Sid built a hosted version. He was cooking pancakes with his girlfriend Karen when his Hacker News post hit the front page. 150 signups in 3 hours. The pancakes burned. GitLab was born. IPO in October 2021. $11 billion valuation. 50 million users. More than half the Fortune 100 as customers. 2,500 employees across 60 countries. 0 physical offices. Ever. GitLab's internal company handbook is over 3,000 pages long and entirely public. Over 13,000 internal meeting videos are posted on YouTube for anyone to watch. Everything is documented, everything version controlled, everything shared by default. That obsession with radical transparency was about to become the most important thing about him. His total cash compensation in fiscal year 2023 was $3.85, a $250 base salary. His wealth is entirely in the company he built. His wife Karen has been his partner for over 25 years. He calls her his best friend and his best partner in everything. Remember that, because he is about to need her. Here's what makes this diagnosis terrifying before anyone picks up a scalpel. Osteosarcoma is a children's cancer. 75% of cases occur before age 25. It's the most common primary malignant bone tumor, but in absolute numbers, it is rare. Fewer than 1,000 Americans per year. The entire clinical trial infrastructure, every drug protocol, every study population, is designed for pediatric patients. The treatment paradigm has not meaningfully changed since the 1980s. Sid was 45. He did not fit the age distribution. He did not fit the trial enrollment criteria. He was an adult man with a teenager's disease, and the system that was supposed to save his life had never been designed for someone like him. The scan revealed no aneurysm, but it found a 6-centimeter mass growing from his T5 vertebrae in the upper spine. Diagnosis confirmed November 18, 2022, high-grade osteosarcoma. Surgeons removed the cancerous vertebrae and fused his spine with a titanium frame. Then came stereotactic radiation, proton beam therapy, and rounds of high-dose doxorubicin, the chemotherapy drug they call the Red Devil. The side effects justified the name. He needed 4 blood transfusions just to survive the treatment. He lost his hair. For weeks, he could barely walk to the bathroom. His heart lost flexibility. He became anemic. He describes himself as stupider now because of chemo brain. It destroyed me, he told an interviewer. During this period, Sid made one deviation from standard care. A fellow Y Combinator batchmate named Jose Mija Onido had founded Shasky, an oncology startup using click chemistry. The underlying science won the 2022 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Since Shasky's trial was not designed for osteosarcoma, they filed a single patient IND application with the FDA, an investigational new drug request for one person. It was approved. The FDA approves 99.7% of such applications. Remember that number. For approximately 2 years, regular scans confirmed remission. Sid disclosed his diagnosis publicly on a GitLab earnings call. He said he was looking forward to a full recovery. He was not going to get one. Mid-2024, a routine scan, the cancer had locally recurred. Everything they had done, the titanium spine, the radiation, the red devil, the 4 blood transfusions, all of it had bought him 2 years. Not a cure, a delay. Then came the words that changed everything. His oncologist told him, "You are done with standard of care. Maybe there is a trial somewhere. Good luck." But there was no trial, because osteosarcoma trials are built for children and adolescents. Sid was 45. The inclusion criteria locked him out. While clinicaltrials.gov listed hundreds of osteosarcoma studies nominally accepting his age, only about 2 dozen were actively enrolling. Most tested a single drug. Most were designed for pediatric populations. 5-year survival after relapse is approximately 23 to 28%, and that number is heavily skewed by patients whose tumors can be cut out. For everyone else, as Scott McKinney, an OpenAI researcher and osteosarcoma patient himself, stated publicly, survival rates are typically measured in months. A willing, self-funding, terminal patient who accepted all risk had nowhere to go. The system is designed to protect populations, not to save individuals. On December 5th, 2024, Sid stepped down as CEO of GitLab. Bill Staples replaced him. "I want more time to focus on my cancer treatment and health," Sid wrote. Months earlier, Paul Graham had published his influential essay called Founder Mode, about what makes founder-led companies different from manager-led ones. Sid read it and re-recognized his own situation. As he later wrote, "Manager mode assumes that existing systems will surface the best options. When I was first diagnosed, I delegated the crucial decisions about my care to others. When my cancer reappeared and my doctors told me I had exhausted the standard of care, I realized that assumption might quite literally kill me. Founder mode was my only option." His words in the interview, "It became my own job to keep myself alive. Nobody else was going to do it for me at this point." Sid treated his body like a legacy codebase that needed debugging. He established 3 rules. 1, maximal diagnostics. Do every test that exists. Run them constantly. Document everything obsessively. The same radical transparency that powered a 3,000-page public company handbook would now track every molecule in his blood. 2, make 10 or more personalized treatments. Since the system had none left to offer, he would build them himself. 3, parallelization, not serial. In software, you run tests in parallel. In medicine, you wait in line for each treatment to fail before trying the next. Sid refused to wait in line for his own death. He assembled a private medical team. Jacob Stern, a geneticist who had led the spatial transcriptomics product line at 10x Genomics with experience at Palantir and Stanford. Documentation was extreme. A Google Doc called Sid Health Notes exceeded 1,000 pages for 2025 alone. Every interaction recorded, version controlled, shared by default. The same principles that built the company applied to the body. The team used ChatGPT as their primary AI tool, GPT 4.0 on the Pro plan. They later built custom multi-agent systems using OpenAI's APIs. Autonomous systems that could accept a clinical question in plain English, search thousands of medical papers, formulate hypotheses, structure analyses, execute Python code, and return summaries with interactive plots. Cost per run, approximately $20. Time, 30 minutes of unsupervised work. The pivotal moment came in summer 2024. Jacob fed a CSV file of bulk RNA sequencing output, raw gene counts from Sid's tumor, directly into GPT 4.0. He typed one question: "What do you think of it?" The AI flagged an anomaly. The tumor cells were massively overexpressing a protein called FAP, Fibroblast Activation Protein. In a healthy body, FAP helps repair wounds. Sid's tumor had co-opted this mechanism. It had hijacked the wound healing pathway and built a biological shield around itself. It had turned the body's repair system into armor, and because the immune system treats wound healing cells as friendly, it never attacked. The cancer was invisible. The AI also flagged B7H3 as a therapeutic target. That finding was later confirmed through single-cell sequencing. A model reading a spreadsheet had identified what would become the foundation of Sid's most advanced treatment. When the team suspected CHIP, a chemotherapy side effect that can lead to leukemia, The AI system autonomously ran a literature review, identified the relevant markers, analyzed Sid's single-cell blood data, and returned a comprehensive report clearing the risk. Jacob described AI at the OpenAI forum as an Iron Man suit. It makes the arcane accessible to somebody like me. Total diagnostic data generated, 25 terabytes. Because Sid bypassed the clinical trial system, he pursued treatments no single patient had ever combined, all running in parallel, simultaneously. Treatment 1, FAP Radioligand Therapy, Germany, February 2025. The concept? Attach a radioactive isotope called lutetium-177, the same payload used in approved prostate cancer drugs, to a targeting ligand that seeks FAP. First, they validated with a cold diagnostic dose. The ligand found the tumor. Then they loaded the hot therapeutic dose. Sid received 2 treatments. He had to be isolated afterwards because he was emitting radiation. The results were dramatic: 60% tumor necrosis, 20% shrinkage. And the critical breakthrough, the tumor detached from his dura, the membrane encasing his spinal cord. It had been fused to it. Now it was free. Surgeons went in and, in Sid's words, scooped it out of my body. But the radioligand therapy did something else. The FAP cells it destroyed had been suppressing the immune system around the tumor. Killing them was like removing a cloaking device. The tumor shifted from immunologically cold to hot. Post-surgical pathology confirmed it. T-cell infiltration surged from 19% to 89%. The immune system could finally see the enemy it had been blind to for years. Treatment 2, immunotherapy cocktail. In parallel, dual checkpoint inhibitors, NK cell therapy, superagonists, and an oncolytic virus. The combination riled up the immune system, generating what sequencing showed as a swarm of angry T cells now flooding a tumor that was no longer invisible. Treatment 3, personalized mRNA cancer vaccine. Sid became the first patient in an investigator-initiated trial. The concept is identical to what Paul Cunningham designed for his dog, Rosie, the subject of our previous video. Custom mRNA encoding neoantigens, mutations unique to Sid's tumor. 5 vaccine iterations were developed across different approaches, from inception to injection, 6 months. Treatment 4, Shasky click chemistry, the same Y Combinator connector from his first round. SQ3370 uses Nobel Prize-winning click chemistry to activate doxorubicin only at the tumor site, sparing the heart from the drug that nearly killed him the first time. 5 separate FDA expanded access IND applications were filed, all 5 approved, each one in approximately 48 hours. Remember the 99.7% approval rate? The FDA pathway that exists for any terminal patient? It moved at that speed 5 times in a row. It just does not move at that speed unless someone with resources and an expert team forces it to. Treatment 5, the breakthrough that sounds more like writing code than practicing medicine. CAR T-cell therapy, engineered immune cells reprogrammed to hunt a specific protein. Sid's team targeted B7H3, the protein the AI had originally flagged from that CSV file months earlier. But a scan in Beijing in October 2025 revealed the problem. No cancer was found. Good news, but his liver showed 3.5 times higher B7H3 uptake than comparison patients. A standard B7H3 CAR T-cell would attack his liver as aggressively as his cancer. The cure would kill him. So his team engineered something unprecedented, a dual AND gate CAR T-cell, a biological logic gate. The cell would only activate it if it detected both B7H3 and FAP present on the same target. His liver had B7H3 but no FAP. His cancer had both. The engineered immune cell could tell the difference between his liver and his tumor. A biological if-else statement, written for a population of 1. But before any of that worked, there was a moment where Sid believed everything was over. He opened his scan results, his lungs lit up like a Christmas tree. A radiologist diagnosed metastatic spread to the lungs. In osteosarcoma, that is the most feared progression, typically inoperable, typically fatal. 7 doctors reviewed the scans, all 7 signed off on the diagnosis. Sid described what followed. You process for 10 minutes, you call your wife, you call your CFO and CLO, and then you go from there. The next day, the board came over. Well, this has been a ride. Then one doctor, the 8th, spoke up. I do not like how this spread by the lymph nodes. this is not how osteosarcoma spreads through the lymph nodes. If I had to guess, 60% chance this is not cancer. The doctor was right. The lung findings were not cancer. One skeptical voice against 7 confident signatures on the wrong answer. That is what the margin looks like when you're debugging your own survival. Current status as of January 2026, no evidence of disease. Sid wrote, "Today, thanks to the efforts of many people around the world and the support of my wife Karen, I currently have no evidence of disease. But my fight with cancer is far from over. My team and I continue to develop treatments and strategies in case it returns." He can bench press again, not at the weight he used to, but he is in the gym. He and Karen are traveling internationally. He's building new companies. The man who could not walk to his bathroom 2 years ago has enough energy to start over. The honest scientific caveat remains. This is one patient, no controls, the follow-up period is short. Some patients with recurrent localized osteosarcoma survive without experimental interventions. He spent millions. He had a full team. He possessed social capital most people will never have. He knows this, and it's the reason he did what he did next. He published everything, all 25 terabytes, every sequencing file, every scan, every analysis, hosted publicly at osteoarc.com. Raw data in open cloud storage, whole genome sequencing, single-cell RNA sequencing from tumor and blood at multiple time points, spatial transcriptomics, an interactive genome browser anyone in the world can use. One of the core principles of GitLab was radical transparency, he wrote. "It is a principle I'm bringing to my cancer care. I welcome all researchers to explore the data." He co-founded Even One Ventures with Jacob Stern to fund companies that scale personalized cancer care. He founded Gemini Therapeutics to bring aldoxorubicin, an improved version of the Red Devil, to the public. He's also personally paying to keep freezers running that contain MDM2 inhibitor compounds abandoned by pharmaceutical companies. The drugs exist. They show activity against his cancer. Nobody manufactures them because there are not enough patients to justify a shareholder return. But here's what Sid's story actually reveals, and it has nothing to do with billionaires. Jake Seeliger was a writer with advanced throat cancer. He faced the same system, the same clinical trial barriers, the same impossible enrollment criteria, the same good luck. He did not have a billion-dollar net worth. He did not have a private genetics team. He could not file 5 IND applications with expert help. His wife was a physician at the Mayo Clinic. She described the regulatory system as paternalist. Jake Seeler died in 2024. The FDA approved 5 expanded access pathways for Sid in 48 hours each. The system can move that fast. It chose not to move that fast for Jake. Sid framed the core tension precisely. It costs $1 billion to get a drug approved, but it costs $1 million to dose a single person with a personalized therapy. That gap is the highest it's ever been. Roxandra Teslo wrote the line that should stay with you long after this video ends. A system originally conceived to safeguard patients has gradually produced a strange and troubling outcome. The mere chance of survival is effectively reserved for the very few who possess the means to assemble an army of experts. That's the glitch. Not the cancer, not the tumor on his spine, the wall between what exists and who is allowed to use it. Sid said something at the OpenAI forum that I also need you to hear. The incentives for the doctors are very different from the incentives for you as a patient. The doctors want to minimize their liability. As a patient, you want to maximize survivability. In my case, because it's a nasty cancer with medieval medicine, I would rather die from a treatment than from the cancer. He called himself the Kool-Aid Man breaking through the wall. The question his story forces is not whether the wall should exist, it's why it's so high for everyone who is not standing where Sid was standing. If AI can flag a therapeutic target from a CSV file in minutes, if the FDA can approve 5 experimental treatments in 48 hours each, if a personalized mRNA vaccine can go from concept to injection in 6 months, then the system's not broken because the science does not exist, it's broken because the access does not. This is Diagnosis Glitch. I'll see you in the next waiting room.